All right, we're about to tackle something pretty complicated. So if you decide you don't want to do this enrichment after you watch the video, if it's just too complicated, that's perfectly fine. I'll try to go slowly and show my steps really neatly. So just like in any long division problem, what you're dividing by is the divisor. So I'm going to rewrite it using long division. Now you really want to spread out a little bit, and you don't want to bunch it up too much. So when you start dividing, what's a little different from regular division, let me just highlight a little bit here, is you're really concentrating on just this first term. So you're going to use the plus 2, but you're really just dividing with the x, okay? Let's go back to our pen. So I'm thinking x times what is x squared? Well, I need another x. So x times x is x squared. And I come over here and I put it over the term that it is like. So this term has an x in it. This has an x squared. So x is like this term because they both just have an x to the first power. So just like in regular long division, you divide, you write your number up in the quotient, and then you multiply this value, x, times x plus 2. So x times x would be, better go back to blue. So I'm going to multiply this x times this x in my in my divisor. So x times x is x squared. X times positive 2 is positive 2x. And I draw my line, just like we do in regular long division. I need to do a little more erasing here. Let's get rid of that and that. Okay, so you're going to subtract. Well, it gets a little confusing thinking about subtracting when you have negatives. So what I do, since I'm going to subtract, that's like changing the signs of everything. So I'm going to make this a negative, and I circle it so that I know that I've changed it. And here I'm going to make that a negative and circle it. These first two terms should always cancel. X squared minus x squared is nothing. But I would not write 0 here. That makes it a little bit more complicated later. So just don't do that. Now when you combine negative 4x and negative 2x, it's like having negative 4 bananas and negative 2 bananas. You're still just going to have bananas. So the x part is going to remain the same. Negative 4 and negative 2 is negative 6. So far you've done the division to get x up in the quotient. We've multiplied x times x plus 2 to get this line. We've subtracted, but instead of really subtracting, we might write out here what we did. We took the opposite of each term, and then we just combined. Now that's a term I've been trying to use a lot with you back in Unit 1 over integers. You don't want to think of it as adding or subtracting. It's just like here, when you combine negative 4 and negative 2, you get negative 6. In that case, we added, because it was like signs, so we added and kept. So let me erase one more time. Okay, so we're still doing regular old steps. So right after you subtract, you bring down. So I'm bringing down the minus 12. Notice how, let me highlight something for you. Notice how everything in this column all looks alike, all x terms. And everything in this first column over here is all x squared. And once we finish this last column, I'll show you that it'll all be just regular numbers. That's one way to kind of keep up with where you are in the problem. Okay, so now we're going to divide this x. We're still dividing with this x, and you always just divide it into the first term. I should have underlined that one. So we divided x into x squared. Now we're dividing x into negative 6x. Well, just think of it as, what do I have to multiply by x to get negative 6x? Well, I'm missing the negative 6. So that goes here. Now we get ready to multiply. So negative 6 times x would be negative 6x. So we're doing this. We're multiplying negative 6 times x, and then negative 6 times positive 2, which is negative 12. Draw the line. Now this one's pretty obvious to see. When you subtract, it's going to be 0, but if I follow my rules where I change the signs and circle it, these cancel. Negative 12 plus 12, that's 0. So we have no remainder. So you see how our third column, and I'll highlight it for you. See how the third column all looks the same as well. It's all just numbers. Get this green right in here. That's how you know you're lining everything up. Just like in regular long division, you know that you're finished when you get to the end of the dividend. So lining it up is really important. So the quotient in this case is x minus 6. Looks pretty crazy, but it's the same kind of long division that we did before. It'll take a little practice. So I've got some more examples, so let's keep going. Now this one is a little more complicated only because you see some larger numbers, but it's the exact same process. So we put our divisor out to the left, kind of make a long bar this time. 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. Previously in the notes that I had you reading, I mentioned that a polynomial like this one right here is actually called a trinomial because it's got 3 terms, and this is a binomial because it's got 2 terms. Just a little free review right there. All right, so we are dividing with the 2x, and we're dividing it into 6x squared. It's always first term divided into first term. So when I divide 2x into 6x squared, I'm thinking 2x times what is 6x squared? Well, to get from 2 to 6, I need a 3, and to get from x to x squared, I need an x. So it's 3x, and I put it over here over the term that it is like. It's not like 6x squared because it's got an x, not an x squared with it. So the next step is to multiply the 3x times both of those terms. So when we do that, 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. Draw your line, change the sign, and combine. It's sort of a little rhythm there. Draw the line, change the sign, and combine. Remember, the first 2 are always going to cancel. That means they add up to be 0. Negative 19 and positive 15 is negative 4, and the x just stays. Remember, If you have so many cookies and so many cookies, you end up with so many cookies. The cookie part doesn't change. It's just the number that changes. Then you bring down, and you just repeat the process. So I need to do a little erasing. Get rid of this, and we'll show it in just a minute. Let's see. So now we're going to divide 2x into negative 4x. Remember, it's always first term into first term. So let's keep going. So 2x times what is negative 4x? That would be negative 2. The x is already there, so you don't need an x. You just need to get from 2 to negative 4. So you have to multiply by negative 2. So it would be minus 2. So now we're going to multiply that minus 2 times both of these and write it right underneath. So negative 2 times 2x will be negative 4x. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. Draw your line, change your signs, and combine. Negative 4x and positive 4x is 0. Positive 10 and negative 10, 0. So our quotient is 3x minus 2. No remainder. So you might be thinking now, well, can there be a remainder? Well, of course. Let's keep going. Stop the video at any time and just replay or watch it again to get a better sense of what's going on. But of course you can get remainders. So the next two are going to have remainders. So let's divide x minus 1 into x squared minus 5x plus 7. Now, if you're getting this, you should feel really good about it. You're probably going to love Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 if that's the case. And if you're not getting it, it doesn't mean you're not going to. It just might be a little bit too abstract right now for you to do, but that's okay. Pick a different enrichment. Okay, so once again, let me highlight. Oops. So we can remember we're dividing x into x squared. It's always first into first. So let's think about that. X into x squared. X times what is x squared? Another x. Put it over the term that it is like. X times x is x squared. So we're multiplying right there. And x times negative 1 is negative 1x. It's really just minus x, but I think the 1 might help you. Draw the line. Oops. Change the signs. Bear with me. Okay. I'm changing the signs. That would be a negative. That would be a positive. So remember, these two should always cancel. Negative 5 and positive 1 would be negative 4x. And then you bring down, just like you do in regular long division. Now you're going to divide again. Sorry, this takes a while. So remember, we always divide first into first. Kind of helps to highlight it a little bit, I think. So what do I have to multiply times x to get negative 4x? Well, I need a negative 4. So it'll be minus 4. Now I have to multiply. Get rid of these. We can show it again. So now I need to multiply negative 4 times x and then times negative 1. And I'm going to record it right underneath. Get rid of some of these. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 1 is a positive 4. Draw your line, change the signs, and circle it. Negative 4 and positive 4x cancel as suspected. Positive 7 and negative 4 is positive 3. So this time I have a remainder. Well, I do the exact same thing with the remainder that we did before when we were dividing whole numbers. It's going to be x minus 4. And typically we just had a mixed number, but now we're going to have to put a plus and put your remainder over your divisor, which was x minus 1. So it's a really ugly looking quotient, but algebra does look a little ugly with a bunch of letters in there mixed with the numbers. So your quotient is x minus 4 plus the fraction 3 divided by x minus 1. 3 divided by x minus 1 is what's called a rational expression, and I mentioned that in the first part of the notes that you were to read to yourself. All right, well, let's keep moving along and try this last one. I just wrote this one as a fraction instead of using the line with the 2 dots for division, but you should recognize by now that a fraction bar means divide. So when we rewrite this one, we'll just have 2x minus 1, and the dividend is 6x cubed plus 5x squared. I better fix that. Hard to read. There we go. Minus 10x plus 5. You really do have to spread out, and on your notebook paper when you're doing your homework or the enrichment problems, I would really urge you to just write on one line of the notebook paper with each line of what you're doing, and really don't try to crunch it all together. All right, let's highlight what we're dividing by. So we're always dividing with the first into first. The rest of the numbers are just sort of along for the ride. Okay. So you're thinking to yourself, 2x times what is 6x cubed? And if you want to try this one on your own, just pause the video and try it on your own, and then turn it back on if you get stuck, okay? But I'll keep going. I need a 3 to get from 2 to 6, and to get from x to x to the third, I need 2 more x's, so that would be x squared. So I need 3x squared. See how I'm writing it above the term that it is like. Next step is to multiply whatever you put up in your quotient by every part of the divisor. So 3x squared times 2x. You multiply the numbers in front, the 2 and the 3. That's going to be a 6. And the x times the x squared is x to the third. That is giving us a free little review of exponents, which was also on our Unit 2 test. 3x squared times negative 1 would be negative 3x squared. You're multiplying the 3 times the negative 1 to get negative 3, and then just throwing the x squared on. And I know I need to be really neat here. Don't want this to be confusing, so let me do my best writing. There we go. Draw the line, and I'll use a different color to change the signs. You might find that helpful when you're doing your work as well. So draw the line, change the signs, and combine. I'll actually write that out here. Draw the line, change the signs, combine. Draw the line, change the signs, and combine. Remember, these first two should always cancel. 5x squared plus 3x squared would give us 8x squared, not 8x to the fourth. X to the fourth would be x squared times x squared. X squared plus x squared, it's just 5 bananas plus 3 bananas is 8 bananas. Bananas stays the same. In this case, bananas is x squared. Now you bring down, and you just start the process over. Let's highlight again. So we're going to divide 2x squared into 8x squared. Same exact process that we just did. Move that cursor out of the way. So we're asking ourselves, what do I need to multiply by 2 to get 8? Well, I need a 4. What do I multiply by x to get x squared? Well, I need another x, so it'll be 4x, positive 4x. A common misconception is students think that whatever symbol is right here, whatever operation just pulls up. That's not the case. It's positive because you're dividing positive 2x into positive 8x squared, and a positive divided by a positive is a positive. So 4x squared times both of these out here. Now I'll show that with the red. So 4x squared times 2x, 4x times 2x, and 4x times negative 1. So 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 4x times negative 1 is negative 4x. Draw the line, change the signs, and combine. Cancel. Negative 10x plus 4x would be negative 6x. You see what great practice this is with your integers? Bring down, and you're on your last round right here. So this one has more rounds, and it's going to have a remainder. Let's highlight again. We're dividing our 2x into our minus 6x. So it was first into first, 2x into 6x cubed, 2x into 8x squared. Now it's 2x into negative 6x squared. Well, what do you have to multiply by 2 to get negative 6? You need a negative 3. The x is already here and here, so you don't need an x, you just need a negative 3. So now we're going to multiply, get rid of this red, and we'll put new red up here. Now we're multiplying the negative 3 times 2x and negative 3 times negative 1. It's really important that you not ignore the symbols, the signs that are in front of these numbers. And I've been doing that the whole time, and that's really critical. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times a negative 1 is a positive 3. Change the signs. I drew the line. Change the signs and combine. First two cancel. Positive 5 and negative 3 is 2. So to write our answer, come up here and let's erase those red again. So we've got plus 2 over our divisor, which is 2x minus 1. So right here, all of that is my result. I mentioned this on the video, on the notes, but if you want help learning how to check to see if your problems are correct, I can help you with that. But you'll have to come to a help session to do it. So have fun doing some Algebra 2 problems.